Let's talk about the biggest loser on the Nifty today. You are, talking about Asian Paints out here. Let's talk about, the company's third quarter numbers. It was a weak set that the company reported, and we do have with us the management. Amit Syngle, who's the MD, joins in now. Amit, thank you for joining in. The stock is losing right now. In the conference call post-earnings, the management did say that we expect the demand conditions to remain challenging. And let's talk about that itself, because the consumers are down trading, the sentiment is weak, then there is competition. As the leader, the question is, what are you doing to ensure that you pick up growth and that growth sustains?
There has been down trading in terms of the market, in terms of what we have seen. I think what was more complex also that, the festive season was very, very short. It was a shorter Diwali to that extent. So as we see, I think the month of October really kind of impacted us very highly in this quarter to that extent. So I think that is what possibly has impacted the overall growths in terms of what has come in. We've still registered a volume growth of about 1.6%. However, going forward, we are seeing three things happening. One, what we are looking at is definitely in terms of a little bit of an uptick in terms of the rural demand. Second, we feel that given the fact that the government spending is now a little bit on an upsurge, we will definitely see slightly better kind of business with respect to the whole area of hospitality projects, government spending, and so on and so forth in terms of what will happen. Even the industrial sector has been doing well. In quarter three also, it has done well. Overall, the area of protective paints, powder paints will continue to do well overall to that extent. There might be a little bit of a cyclical downturn as far as the auto business is concerned. However, I think the big point is that the urban centers seem to be kind of going slow, and we don't see an upsurge there even in quarter four happening to that extent. So we are therefore a little bit cautiously optimistic about it. From our side, we are looking at newer products on the anvil. We are looking at more activity in terms of looking at what we can do in the secondaries in the market.
Right. Amit, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in. This budget has announced some more money in the hands of people, right? Particularly directed at urban consumers itself. Now, do you see that as a sentiment boost, at least in terms of growth coming in terms of urban volumes?
So overall, I think it's a very positive step in terms of what the government has done. I think it's definitely got more money in the hands of the middle class overall in terms of what we see. And that will definitely boost overall consumption, especially in the urban centers. What we need to kind of wait and watch is that which are the sectors where the consumption will straightway come in, because we must remember that, paint is a segment where basically the spends are always deferred. And it is one of those segments where the painting of the home and so on and so forth comes the last to that extent. So we'll have to wait and watch in terms of where the consumption levels kick off to that extent. But we are expecting that definitely this will give some better consumption levels coming in the urban centers for sure. As we go ahead, we are looking at single-digit volume growths for quarter four for definitely in terms of what we would kind of really endeavor to get as we kind of go forward. As of now, possibly we will wait for quarter four to kind of look at in terms of what are the kind of signals we give for the coming year.
All right, that's about the decorative business. On home improvement, Amit, I have to ask you, because it's been a personal passion project for you as well. Growth has been subdued for a very long time now. We've also seen a couple of management changes out there as well, some abrupt exits and, reappointments. What's the company's overall thought process here, and how long do you continue to invest behind it before it actually makes a significant inroads into your overall numbers?
So overall, I think it's an initiative which possibly really we are looking at in terms of a larger decor positioning of the overall brand in terms of going forward. So we are talking of basically a shift from a share of surface to a share of space within the home to that extent. So from that point of view, definitely it's something which possibly we are passionate about in terms of taking it. As we look forward, I think the overall consumer sentiment, the spendings across homes and so on and so forth has impacted some of the categories here as well. Although we see definitely some growth which is definitely there to that extent, we still kind of pursue putting up newer stores in terms of various cities in terms of what we are putting. This year also we have put about 8 to 10 additional stores which have come in to that extent. I think it is too early to kind of really look at saying that we wanted to kind of not kind of get further into this segment. I think having started it, we would like to kind of take it to a logical conclusion in terms of what we are able to kind of do around this to that extent, because it has a direct correlation with the core business as well. So it's not something which is running parallelly separate to that extent in terms of going forward. So I think given the fact that there is a correlation, I think we would definitely look at still, concentrating on this. Possibly we might still do some adjustment in terms of how we look at our overall spends in terms of the core category versus possibly the category of home decor as we go forward.
Amit, you're guided for around about 18 to 20% in terms of margins. Now, do you think that this is achievable? Is there some more pressure on the downside that you see going forward?
See, as of now, I think what we are very clear is that we are still kind of pursuing, strong portfolios in terms of the premium luxury segments to that extent. I think where you possibly kind of lose out is some of the economy segments in terms of what is there as we kind of go forward. Our entire endeavor is to kind of look at more innovation, more investment in these segments, look at more secondary demand in terms of what we can churn out as we go forward, more in terms of building brands here, a set of new packaging in terms of what we are bringing, overall a set of new products in the premium luxury space. So I think as we go forward, possibly we are still kind of maintaining the guidance of 18-20 as we go ahead to that extent, because that's the larger focus in terms of what we want to maintain.
All right, you will maintain 18 to 20% EBITDA margin guidance. Amit, the last time we spoke, you did say that, you are interested in parts of AkzoNobel. Let me ask you point blank. Have you put in a bid for AkzoNobel?
No, not as yet.
All right, not as yet. Well, that's enough clarification coming in. Asian Paints has not put a bid for AkzoNobel. But, also I'm very curious to know, what is the promoter families or the directors, what are they saying, given the sort of prolonged weakness that we've seen, not only the consumer sentiment, but your own business performance, the stock's own underperformance as well? What is their direction of thinking right now? I want to understand from the promoter / board of directors standpoint.
See, overall, if you look at from the point of view of last 4 years, we have seen a big uptick in terms of what we saw from COVID for the next 3.5 years to that extent. So I think it has been a very, very strong surge where we have almost doubled the numbers from a top line, and in terms of even profitability, it's been a strong surge in terms of what we have seen. So I think today both the promoters as well as the board is aware that there are cycles which are tough to that extent, but I think they totally have a belief in the brand. They have a belief in the management in terms of taking it forward to that extent. And I think there is strong resilience there in terms of saying that they are willing to wait and watch in terms of seeing how possibly the brand bounces back.
They are willing to wait and watch, but what about your employees, Amit? How are you motivating them to put their best foot forward? How do you ensure that they don't leave like we saw earlier in the home decor business? How are you navigating through this period?
See, overall, I think the employees also understand that what is the value of the brand and what is their equity in the brand to that extent. So overall, at least in the management, we have not seen too much attrition in terms of what is really overall happening to that extent. There are a couple of positions here and there in terms of what we have seen overall to that extent. But I think today, it's crucial at this point of time that, leaders are there in the market. They are standing behind the troops. They are kind of guiding them in terms of what needs to be done. And there is innovation and empowerment at play in terms of what we are bringing to that extent. So I think the need of the hour is really kind of getting behind the troops and kind of really guiding them in terms of what can be done and what is innovation all about. So I think we are well in control in terms of looking at how we are looking at the current scenario and how we are kind of going to emerge out of this.
Right, let's address the elephant in the room then straight up. This is the first full festive season that we've seen from the competitor, the Birlas, that is. How did that go on the ground, and how long before we see double-digit volume growth return for you?
So, see, the competitive intensity has been pretty strong in terms of what we have seen in the first 9 months. However, I see is that, given the fact that it's not only about five players at the top, it's also about, 10 to 12 players now batting to that extent. There have been even more competition which has come in terms of a lot of newer players other than one of the bigger players, which has kind of really stepped into that extent. So I think we are definitely seeing, some readjustment of shares across a lot of players to that extent. So it's not something which is only one player is kind of experiencing it. It is all across, and a lot of these shares are getting adjusted across the unorganized sector as well to that extent. So I think this intensity is going to remain for some time. I think the important part is that which companies, which brands are able to play to their strengths, put their clear direction in terms of the work, in terms of what they're doing in the market, and really see that possibly they are able to do things very, very differently rather than being predictable in the market to that extent. Overall, I see that it will take some time. I think I am betting it that it will take definitely about 2 quarters forward in terms of looking at really the double digits kind of coming in very strongly.
All right, double-digit volumes are at least 2 quarters away. Amit, thank you so much for joining in. A candid conversation, not just around numbers, but around what's happening in the space as well. Wish we had it in the backdrop of a better performance coming in from Asian paints. The stock down about 30-35% from the highs. Another top nifty loser in today's trading session as well. Though, wish you good luck for bouncing back. As you said, the promoters and directors behind the brand and the leadership of the company itself.